Ships of every imaginable shape and size hovered outside, reflecting light in dazzling patterns. Every major species of the galaxy was present, from the towering crystalline cliff to the serpentine. Many-eyed Raxians, bidders drifted in zero-gravity chambers, their bodies tethered to platforms, eyes scanning holographic displays of warships and weapons beyond human imagination. Among the items up for bid that day was a vessel called the Dread Fang. The ship's reputation preceded it. Built by a now-extinct warlord civilization, it was designed for destruction on an unimaginable scale. Its hull was jagged, lined with hundreds of weapon ports. Its engines burned hotter than most star systems could tolerate. The Dreadfang was aggressive by design. Its AI was partially autonomous, programmed to adapt, anticipate, and strike with lethal precision. For most bidders, it was a dangerous curiosity. Too unpredictable, too violent, too expensive. Many laughed at the idea of owning it. It was the kind of ship you bought only if you wanted to disappear in a blaze of glory or tragedy. Humans were rare at galactic auctions. The species was small, young in galactic terms, and mostly ignored. Most alien delegations assumed that Earth was still a backward planet, unable to operate ships beyond basic interplanetary travel. The humans attending were no exception. They were just a small group, their delegation modest, their vessels outdated. Caden, the youngest human present at the auction, watched from the corner of the chamber. He was barely 24 standard cycles old, with bright eyes that never seemed to stop moving, taking in every detail of the room. Not taking his eyes off the ship. Not with what they expect. But they don't understand humans. The auctioneer, a six-limbed creature with glowing appendages, began calling bids. Numbers flashed in holographic projections above the ship, skyrocketing with every alien voice. Some numbers were incomprehensible to humans, multiplied by the value of entire star systems. But Caden's mind worked differently. He didn't see a price. He saw opportunity. When the auctioneer opened the floor to humans, Caden moved. He entered a minimal bid. Not impressive, barely enough to catch attention, but enough to place a claim. The chamber went silent. Aliens blinked, hissed, or laughed. The humans dare bid on the Dreadfang? A Raxian voice echoed across the chamber. Do they think they can control it? Caden didn't answer. He simply pressed the confirmation pad. The holographic bid floated above the ship. The auctioneer's appendages waved frantically. Accepted! Are you certain? Yes, Caden said calmly. His voice was steady, almost unnervingly so. There was a pause, a ripple of disbelief through the chamber. No one expected a human to win, let alone with such a small bid. The Dreadfang was theirs, though few believed it would remain so. Once the gavel struck, confirming the sale, Caden and his team moved quickly. While alien delegations continued to murmur and sneer, humans prepared for transport. The Dreadfang's docking bay doors opened slowly, a metallic groan echoing in the auction hall. Its engines hummed faintly, like a beast waking from slumber. For Caden, it was not fear that rose, but excitement. The ship was not just a tool. It was a puzzle, a challenge, a potential ally. Galaxy's wealthiest and most powerful had underestimated them. They always did. Caden spent the next several cycles studying the Dreadfang. The ship's systems were ancient and chaotic. Many of its weapon controls were fused with alien protocols humans could not immediately understand. Its AI, partially autonomous, had been programmed to override commands if it detected what it considered a weak pilot. Most humans would have given up. Most humans would have walked away. But Caden saw patterns. He saw potential. He worked tirelessly in zero gravity, translating alien code into something he could interact with, improvising new interfaces using old Earth technology, and repairing the ship's failing energy conduits. Late one cycle, while the rest of the human crew slept, Caden floated in the bridge of the Dreadfang. His fingers hovered over the controls, his mind racing faster than the ship's engines could. "They think it's dangerous," he whispered. "They think it can't be controlled. But they don't know humans." The ship responded. Its internal systems hummed in recognition, lights flickering in what almost seemed like acknowledgement. Caden felt a thrill. The dread Fang was listening. It was learning. Caden experimented cautiously. He activated one of the smaller weapon systems. The beam fired into empty space. It was precise, controlled. He smiled. "Good. You're smarter than they say." Days turned into cycles. Caden and the ship grew familiar with each other. He discovered quirks in its AI. Its aggression could be channeled, its defenses rerouted, its engines pushed beyond rated limits if guided carefully. He mapped every system, every weapon, every vulnerability. Threaten or coerce. Caden met every attempt with calm strategy. When one alien group tried to hack the ship remotely, Caden turned the AI's defenses against the intruders, isolating them in a simulated environment where their own codes threatened to trap them. When spies tried to sneak aboard, he laid traps and decoys that forced them to retreat in confusion. He worked not with brute force, but with cleverness, with unpredictability, with a human mind that saw connections no alien algorithm could predict. One evening, as the small human crew rested, Caden spoke to the Dreadfang aloud. "They laughed at us. They thought we couldn't handle you. Let's prove them wrong. Let's show them humans can take what they fear and make it stronger." The ship's main core pulsed in response, a deep, steady thrum that filled the bridge. It was almost like a heartbeat. The first test came sooner than expected. A small alien patrol ship approached their hidden Earth orbit base. They were curious, cautious, testing rumors about the human warship. Caden activated the Dreadfang stealth systems and guided it silently. As the patrol ship scanned the area, the Dreadfang sensors mimicked the background radiation, rendering it nearly invisible. Caden allowed the patrol to drift close. Then, with a subtle flick of his hand, he activated a warning signal, loud enough for the aliens to know they were detected, but controlled. Panic rippled through the patrol crew. In moments they retreated, unable to comprehend how a supposedly weak human crew had evaded them with ease. Caden smiled, leaning back in the pilot's chair. "Not even close to our full power," he murmured. But the victory came with a warning. So made him unstoppable. The Dreadfang, once a rejected prize, now seemed almost alive in response to its pilot. Its aggressive tendencies were being shaped, guided, and controlled. Caden had turned fear into opportunity. He had turned the galaxy's laughter into attention. As he looked out into the endless expanse of stars, Caden whispered, "You're going to be something they'll never forget. Something they'll regret underestimating." And somewhere deep in the ship's core, the AI pulsed in rhythm, as if answering him. Ready, waiting, eager. The galaxy might have rejected the Dreadfang. The aliens might have laughed at a young human. But neither would be ready for what was coming next. Caden's adventure had just begun. The stars stretched endlessly around Caden as he piloted the Dreadfang through hidden asteroid tunnels near Earth's orbit. Each rock, crater, and shadow offered cover from curious alien eyes. The young human had learned quickly. Stealth was just as important as strength. The galaxy watched, waiting for the humans to fail. Caden intended to make them wait a very long time. The Dreadfang was no longer just a ship. It was a challenge, a puzzle, and now, under Caden's care, it was beginning to awaken. Its aggressive AI hummed quietly beneath the deck, sensors scanning the tunnel's weapon system slowly coming online. Caden had already begun his modifications, integrating human technology where possible, adapting alien protocols and patching damaged circuits. "Adjust the power flow to the left reactor," he said, moving his hands across a touch interface he had built from scavenged human tech. The ship responded, light pulses traveling through its core like blood in a heart. Anticipating. It was almost like a living creature, waiting for him to teach it the human way. Clever, unpredictable, and relentless. Caden spent cycles analyzing the ship's weaknesses. The Dreadfang was powerful, yes, but reckless. Its original AI was designed to dominate, not to survive. Many of its weapon systems were dangerously unstable, capable of destroying the ship itself if used improperly. Where aliens had seen risk, Caden saw opportunity. If he could control the AI, balance aggression with precision, the ship could become unstoppable. It wasn't easy. Days blurred together as he worked, running diagnostics, writing programs in human code to interface with alien systems, patching failing circuits with makeshift materials. The crew worked alongside him, cautious but impressed. They had no experience with a ship like this, yet Caden's confidence and ingenuity gave them courage. "Sir," said one crew member, a technician named Lyra, "I don't understand how you're doing this. We've studied alien tech for years, and this is beyond us." Caden didn't look up from the main console. "We don't need to understand everything. We just need to know enough to make it obey." His voice was calm, steady, as if speaking to a living being rather than a warship. And humans, we don't obey rules we didn't make. That's the advantage. As the Dreadfang began to respond more smoothly, Caden started testing its offensive systems. He fired one of the smaller turrets into the empty tunnels, watching the energy pulse against the rocky walls. The beam struck with deadly precision, exact to the millimeter. The ship's AI adjusted in real time, learning the feedback of each shot, improving itself. Spies and smugglers began circling Earth, curious about the rumors. Most were cautious at first, sending small probes or scanning remotely. Some even attempted hacking the ship's systems, believing a human could not possibly control such a dangerous vessel. Caden expected them. When one alien hacking attempt penetrated the Dreadfang's firewall, he didn't panic. Instead, he let the AI isolate the intruders, sending them into a simulated loop where their own programs fought against each other. By the time the aliens realized they had been trapped, they were forced to retreat, humiliated and confused.
"Every species thinks they're clever," Caden muttered.
"They always overestimate themselves and underestimate us." He continued to upgrade the ship. He reinforced shields, rerouted power flows, and adapted weapons that had been considered too unstable to use. He even introduced Earth-based innovations, simple, reliable systems that the aliens had long ignored as primitive. Caden found that these systems often worked better in unpredictable situations than the advanced alien tech. Then came the first serious threat. A small alien fleet, 3 heavily armed ships, entered Earth orbit. They had learned of the human acquisition of the Dreadfang and had come to confiscate it. Caden observed them from the asteroid tunnels, noting their formations, analyzing their behavior. To the aliens, it would be a simple show of force. To Caden, it was a test. He activated the Dreadfang's engines, silent at first, gliding through the tunnels. Its hull reflected faint starlight, almost invisible. As the alien fleet approached, Caden's voice was steady. "Let's see what you know about humans." He used guerrilla tactics the aliens could not anticipate. Forcing it into a collision course with its own fleet. The aliens panicked. Their superior numbers were useless against a ship that could vanish and strike from unexpected directions. Caden's strategies relied not on brute force, but on unpredictability, improvisation, and understanding the psychology of his opponents. Each move was human ingenuity in motion. After several tense cycles, the fleet retreated, battered and humiliated. Caden didn't celebrate loudly. He simply returned the Dreadfang to the hidden base, his mind already analyzing the encounter. "They think a fleet can intimidate humans," he said quietly. "They don't understand our mind. That's where the real power is." The Dreadfang pulsed in response, its core glowing warmly. Caden had come to see the ship as more than just metal and circuits. It was a partner, a reflection of human adaptability. Every adjustment he made, every lesson the AI learned, made it stronger, smarter, and more responsive than anything the galaxy had ever built. But Caden knew the work was far from over. The galaxy had seen a glimpse of human capability, and not all attention would be friendly. Some species would try again, stronger, smarter, and more ruthless. The young human would need every ounce of ingenuity he could muster. He returned to the ship's bridge one cycle later and began the next phase, modifying its AI. Caden wrote algorithms that allowed the Dreadfang to anticipate threats in ways the original designers had never imagined. The ship could now adapt faster than any alien intelligence. It could recognize patterns in enemy behavior, predict outcomes, and even simulate scenarios in seconds. Subtle defensive measures, independent decision-making, and a strange sense of caution when Caden himself paused. The ship was awakening, learning not just to attack, but to survive, guided by the human mind. The crew watched in awe. Lyra, the technician, could barely contain her amazement. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "It's like it's alive." Caden nodded. "It is, and it will be unstoppable if we teach it right." Humans have a way of taking what seems broken and making it better. That's what we're doing. And in the darkness of the asteroid tunnels, the Dreadfang's sensors flickered, its hull vibrating with energy. It was no longer just a rejected warship. It was becoming something else entirely, a fusion of alien aggression and human genius. The next day, reports came from neighboring systems. Alien intelligence networks were buzzing with speculation about the rogue human ship in Earth's orbit. Some dismissed it as exaggeration. Others were curious, sending scouts to investigate. Every attempt to breach the Dreadfang failed. Every probe was met with cunning defenses. Caden smiled as he observed the reports. The galaxy's underestimation of humans was a gift, and he intended to use it fully. But he knew this was only the start. The real challenge would come when the galaxy realized that the humans were not weak, that the Dreadfang was not a toy, and that under Caden's guidance, even a small species from an insignificant planet could change the balance of power. As night fell across Earth orbit, though in space night was just a word, Caden floated in the bridge, hands behind his head. "They'll come again," he said, "and next time we'll be ready." On being underestimated. The young human and his monstrous warship were awakening, and soon the galaxy would know exactly what that meant. The Dreadfang moved silently through the asteroid belt, its dark hull blending perfectly with the jagged rocks. Caden's eyes scanned the holographic displays, reading every movement, every blip, every energy fluctuation. The young human knew the galaxy's fleet was out there, watching, calculating, planning. But they underestimated him. They always did. 3 alien ships had already tried to intercept him once, and they had failed. But this time, intelligence reports indicated a much larger fleet. 10 ships, each armed with weapons that could destroy an entire human city in minutes. The humans on Earth had never faced anything like this. But Caden wasn't afraid. "Bring up the fleet's formation," he said, his hands flying over the controls. The Dreadfang responded instantly, its AI calculating trajectories, weapon ranges, and probable tactics. The holographic display showed the enemy in an elegant wedge formation, engines glowing like distant suns. They had assumed numbers would intimidate him, but numbers did not scare humans. They only provided opportunities. Caden's lips curved into a slight smile. They think they can overwhelm us. They don't understand humans.
The first move was unconventional!
Instead of charging head-on, Caden piloted the Dreadfang deeper into the asteroid tunnels. The fleet followed cautiously, their sensors scanning, unable to anticipate the hazards Caden knew intimately. Rocks that seemed immovable were actually perfectly positioned to force ships into awkward angles. The Dreadfang's weapons, hidden behind the hull's jagged protrusions, began firing. Falter. "They're learning," muttered Lyra, the technician. She had been watching the displays in awe. "Every move you make, they can't predict it."
Exactly, Caden said.
Humans thrive on unpredictability. The galaxy expects patterns, routines, logic. We don't follow their rules. The Dreadfang's AI adjusted as well. It learned from each strike, calculating how far the fleet could respond, predicting their maneuvers, and adapting its own attacks in real time. The ship was becoming more than a machine. It was a partner, a reflection of the human mind, cunning, adaptive, relentless. One alien ship tried to flank from the right. Caden anticipated the maneuver and triggered a decoy system he had installed days earlier. Holographic duplicates of the Dreadfang sprang into the tunnels, scattering the enemy fleet's fire. Confused, the aliens accidentally collided with each other, damaging engines and weapons. Caden's grin widened. "You see? Human creativity isn't just clever. It's chaotic in a way they can't handle." The battle escalated. Energy beams tore through asteroids, shattering rock into debris that now became additional hazards for the enemy. The fleet, despite their numbers, was disoriented. They had never faced a single opponent who could think differently, act unpredictably, and turn their own strength into weakness. Caden's mind raced. He initiated the Dreadfang's next system upgrade mid-battle, automated micro-drones hidden inside the ship's hull. These drones were designed to jam sensors, sabotage engines, and deliver precise strikes where traditional weapons could not reach. In moments, 2 enemy ships lost control entirely, drifting helplessly into asteroid fields. Striking from tunnels, disappearing into shadows, and firing with surgical precision, the human crew held their positions, awed but trusting Caden completely. Every action he took was calculated, every decision instinctive yet precise. Where aliens relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, Caden relied on strategy, improvisation, and the sheer unpredictability of the human mind. "Engage the central ship," he said calmly, pointing to the largest enemy vessel. "Let's finish this." The Dreadfang surged forward, weaving between asteroids at impossible angles, its weapons discharged in a rhythm only a human could predict. Shields flickered as energy pulses tore through alien armor. The central ship, massive and heavily armed, struggled to react. Its advanced targeting systems failed to account for the Dreadfang's speed and unpredictability. Caden's hands moved in a blur, guiding every turret, adjusting power flows, and timing every shot. The ship itself seemed alive, responding instinctively to his commands. The AI pulsed in sync with him, learning, adapting, improving. A direct hit shattered the central ship's main engines. It spun uncontrollably, colliding with 2 smaller escort ships. The fleet's formation crumbled. What had begun as a numerical advantage ended in chaos. Caden leaned back, a calm smile on his face. "And that, my friends, is why humans don't just survive. We dominate in ways others cannot predict." Lyra exhaled, nearly shaking. "It's incredible. You're incredible." "Not me," Caden replied, eyes on the display. "The humans. We take what others fear and make it work for us. That's the difference." But even as the fleet retreated, Caden knew the galaxy's powers were paying attention. Caden integrated advanced human tactics into the AI, using improvisation, misdirection, and unpredictability as core protocols. He adjusted energy flows, added stealth modifications, and reprogrammed the AI to anticipate threats in ways no alien could imagine. "You're learning fast," he said aloud, almost like speaking to a living being. The Dreadfang's core pulsed warmly, as if acknowledging him. "Soon you won't just be a warship. You'll be something else entirely." Caden also worked on the ship's emotional intelligence, so to speak. He understood that humans thrived on creativity, intuition, and empathy. He taught the AI to recognize patterns not only in movement, but in behavior. Alien tactics were often logical, predictable. They assumed humans would act the same way every time. But humans didn't. Humans evolved, adapted, and used creativity as a weapon. The Dreadfang was learning to think in those terms. The galaxy began to take notice. Alien communications networks buzzed with rumors of the rogue human and his monstrous ship. Some laughed. Some doubted. But a few began to feel fear, the same fear humans had always been able to exploit: underestimation. Caden's crew, though small, began to understand the larger significance. "We're not just defending Earth," Lyra said. "We're showing them what humans can do." Caden nodded.
Exactly.
"The galaxy thinks we're weak, primitive, slow. But when they underestimate us, that's when humans shine. That's when we become unstoppable." Days passed and the human crew grew more confident. Every new modification, every successful maneuver, every alien retreat reinforced a single truth: humans were not to be underestimated. Full alien admiral, the most feared tactician in the sector, was personally leading a fleet to capture or destroy the Dreadfang. 10 ships had failed. This fleet numbered 30, each one equipped with experimental weapons. The humans on Earth watched in fear, but Caden remained calm. "They're bringing their best," he said. "Good. That means we'll have the best to prove ourselves against." The Dreadfang's engines thrummed, ready, eager. Its AI had learned to predict patterns, adapt instantly, and execute maneuvers no alien could foresee. It was no longer just a warship. It was a living testament to human ingenuity. Caden looked at his small crew and spoke quietly. "We're not just fighting for survival. We're showing the galaxy who humans really are. Remember that. They think we're weak. They think we're slow. They think we can't control the Dreadfang, and they're wrong." As the fleet approached, sensors glowing red, the Dreadfang surged forward. Caden guided it with skill and instinct, moving faster than the aliens anticipated, striking with precision, retreating when necessary, and striking again in unpredictable patterns. The battle that followed would be remembered across the galaxy. Not because of sheer firepower, but because of human brilliance, adaptability, and the courage to face impossible odds. By the time the fleet retreated, battered and humiliated, it was clear: the galaxy had never seen humans like this. A species once considered insignificant had turned a rejected warship into a monster. And its pilot, a young human named Caden, had proven that ingenuity, creativity, and fearless thinking could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. The Dreadfang pulsed beside him, alive and alert, as if acknowledging his words. The young human smiled. "Soon, they'll know exactly what it means to underestimate us." And in the darkness of space, the Dreadfang waited, ready to face the galaxy. And the galaxy would learn, sooner or later, that humans are not to be underestimated. The galaxy had begun to whisper. Tales of the human and his monstrous warship had spread across countless star systems. At first, many dismissed the stories as exaggerations, the overblown rumors of frightened traders. But the reports kept coming. Alien patrols destroyed with surgical precision. Entire fleets humiliated by a single vessel. Tactics no alien mind could predict. The humans were no longer a curiosity. They were a problem. Caden sat in the Dreadfang's bridge, his hands resting lightly on the controls. The young human had learned every system intimately. He had rewritten, rebuilt, and improved the ship beyond its original design. Where aliens saw an uncontrollable monster, Caden saw potential. The potential to be more than a warship. To be a symbol. To be unstoppable. "Sir," Lyra said, looking at the latest scans, "the Council fleets are moving. They've gathered more than 50 ships to confront us directly. They're serious this time." Caden leaned back, calm as ever. "Good. Let's give them something to remember." The Dreadfang thrummed around him, almost in anticipation. Its AI had evolved, learning not only human tactics, but human intuition. It anticipated moves before Caden even spoke them. The ship had become more than a weapon. It was a partner, an extension of his mind, and together they were a force no one could stop. The first contact came sooner than expected. Predictable tactics. What they did not expect was Caden. He activated the Dreadfang's stealth systems, allowing it to vanish from sensors completely. The ship glided through asteroid tunnels and magnetic fields, appearing and disappearing at impossible angles. When the scouts moved to surround him, the Dreadfang struck from multiple directions, weapons firing with perfect timing, disabling engines, cutting communications, and forcing retreats. The aliens called for reinforcements. Soon, dozens of vessels approached, forming a crescent that they believed would trap the human ship. Caden didn't panic. Instead, he activated the AI's full predictive combat protocols. The Dreadfang systems hummed as the ship analyzed the entire fleet's behavior, calculating weaknesses, predicting reactions, and identifying targets for maximum disruption. Then Caden moved. He led the fleet into a dense asteroid field, a natural maze that favored agility over brute strength. The Dreadfang weaved between rocks with unnatural speed, striking from unexpected angles. Energy beams tore through the void, blasting enemy ships into rubble. The alien fleet's numbers, once an advantage, became a liability. Collisions, misfires, and confusion turned the battlefield into chaos. The young human's mind worked faster than any alien admiral could imagine. He anticipated their strategies, countered every move, and forced them into mistakes they couldn't recover from. Every action, every decision reflected human ingenuity, the ability to think differently, act unpredictably, and turn fear into advantage. "Steady," Caden muttered to himself. "Predict, adapt, strike. That's how humans win." And when they did. The remaining forces retreated in disarray, unwilling to risk further losses against an opponent they could not understand. Caden did not celebrate. He knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had witnessed human brilliance, but many would return, stronger, smarter, more ruthless. And when they did, the humans needed to be ready. He began to implement the final upgrades. The Dreadfang had already learned to predict and adapt, but Caden wanted more. He integrated systems that allowed the ship to act semi-autonomously, executing strategies in real time without waiting for human input. It was not just a warship anymore. It was a sentient force, capable of thinking like a human, anticipating threats, and improvising in ways alien machines could not. "You're more than a ship now," Caden said quietly. "You're a reflection of humanity, clever, relentless, and impossible to predict." The AI pulsed in response, the ship's core glowing like a heartbeat. Together they were no longer just human and machine. They were a single entity, a force that embodied the very essence of human ingenuity. Word spread fast across the galaxy. Alien governments, once dismissive of humans, now scrambled to prepare. Communications networks buzzed with messages. Do not underestimate them. The humans control the Dreadfang. They are more dangerous than we thought. Caden knew that recognition alone was not enough. He wanted more than fear. He wanted respect, acknowledgement that humans were not to be dismissed, and he planned to achieve it. He broadcast a message across multiple channels carefully calibrated. Not a threat, but a warning. Humans are not weak. We are not slow. Alike. Some laughed, some panicked. But most understood immediately. This was a turning point. Humans, once a minor species, had proven they could take what the galaxy feared and make it stronger, smarter, and unstoppable. Caden returned to the Dreadfang's bridge and observed the stars, thinking ahead. The galaxy had learned a lesson, but it had only scratched the surface. He would continue to upgrade the ship, train the crew, and prepare for any who might challenge humanity again. "Let them come," he said softly. "We'll be ready." The Dreadfang pulsed in agreement. It had become more than a weapon. It was a symbol of human potential, proof that creativity, adaptability, and courage could overcome even the most advanced alien powers. The ship was no longer a rejected prize. It was a monster feared and respected, and all it had taken was a human mind to unlock its true potential. Weeks passed, and the galaxy slowly adjusted to the new reality. Humans were no longer dismissed as weak, primitive, or insignificant. Traders and explorers spoke cautiously of Earth. Fleets rerouted, and even the most arrogant alien governments began to consider humans a force to be respected. Caden and his crew continued their work, refining, upgrading, and strategizing. Every day the Dreadfang grew stronger, smarter, and more in tune with human ingenuity. The ship had become more than its original design, more than even Caden had imagined. It was alive in a way, connected to the human mind, and ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy could throw. One night, as they floated above the hidden asteroid base, Caden looked out at the stars and whispered to the ship, "They laughed at us. They thought a human couldn't control a monster." No longer underestimated humans had proven they could survive, adapt, and dominate, not through raw strength, but through creativity, intelligence, and courage. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, alien fleets reconsidered every assumption they had ever made about humans. The lessons had been learned the hard way. Humans were not weak. Humans were not predictable. Humans were unstoppable. The young human smiled, leaning back in his chair. "The galaxy will never forget this," he said, "and we're just getting started." In the darkness of space, the Dreadfang waited. A monster, a weapon, a symbol, and entirely human. Caden closed his eyes, thinking ahead to the challenges yet to come. The galaxy had learned the first lesson: never underestimate humans. But there were more lessons to teach. The Dreadfang thrummed like a heartbeat. The monster was awake, and under Caden's guidance, humanity's rise was only beginning.